Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, welcome to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here, and if you've joined me before, you know that we believe that life recovery is for everyone. There are principles, concepts that can help you with whatever it is you're struggling with. We know that recovery deals with struggles with substance abuse and addictions, all sorts of behaviors. But this issue we're going to talk about today, even more so. And today we're going to talk about the food addiction, the big one for so many of us. I struggled with food for so long and then finally made some changes and alterations that Dr. Rhona Epstein is going to tell us about. And I'm telling you, when you are overweight and you are defined by how much you weigh, it is not fun. It is not pleasant. Well, Dr. Rhona Epstein, she's our presenter. She is the expert on food as an addiction. And many times we don't see food as a real live addiction until, we've become addicted. She's an author and a speaker as well as a devoted person to helping anybody recover from food addiction. Now, she's a licensed psychologist, addiction counselor, marriage and family therapist in the Philadelphia area. And she's the author of Food Triggers: End Your Cravings, Eat Well, Live Better, and Satisfied. It's a 90-day journey toward food freedom. I recommend it. The Satisfied Workbook and Satisfied Journal accompany it. For more than 30 years, she's led seminars, conferences, workshops, and all of them to help people overcome food addiction. She's passionate about what she does, as most of us are who have found a way to keep the weight off. And you can look at her website at www.drrhona.com. Let's listen to her. And when you listen to her, think about the little practical things that she's pointing out. Things that you can do, especially those that you can do the rest of your life. Because if you've heard anything from Lose It for Life, you've heard this. Why do something if you can't do it forever? Because when you quit doing it, the problem's just going to come back and haunt you. We want you to lose it, keep it off, and develop the healthy lifestyle beyond it. Now let's listen to Dr. Rhona.
Well, hey, I'm Dr. Rhona, and I'm here to share with you about food addiction. Yes, I did say that, food addiction, talking about a struggle that a lot of people have. I just did a TikTok video that went viral, and thousands of people said, yes, that's me, when I said, with regards to Oreos and sugar addiction, that for me, one was too many and 1,000 was never enough. And I admitted that on TikTok, and all these people, thousands, got on and said, me too. I can't have them in my house because if I have one, I'll eat the whole thing. And I'm sure a lot of you understand because Oreos are addictive. And when I was a kid, I used to live on junk food. Somehow or another, we just didn't have the information that we have today about how unhealthy and how crazy that people can get. We didn't know that sugar can make a person have brain fog or ADHD, that there's all these illnesses like diabetes and how people are becoming obese. And, we fat shamed people, but we didn't really understand that we were creating a serious problem. In my house, I was allowed to eat Pop-Tarts for breakfast and Captain Crunch and peanut butter and jelly on white bread for lunch and pasta for dinner. And that's what I lived on, white flour and sugar. And it was no wonder I was not doing well in school, and I was, getting more and more overweight and feeling ashamed of my body. And the addictiveness to sweets was growing and growing as I was a kid. And by the time I was in high school, I had a full-blown eating disorder, trying to lose weight and going on all these crazy diets, trying to starve myself, and then binging on crazy amounts of junk food, half gallons of ice cream, entire boxes of double stuffed Oreos, and then, doing all kinds of crazy things to get rid of it. And so, and that was a long time ago, before we even knew about eating disorders. And so I was in terrible trouble. And I thank God that I was able to find help, and I know He led me to help. And it was through an addictions model. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know what would have happened to me. And so I now am thankful to be celebrating over 40 years of recovery. And I have spent my entire adult life helping other people out of trouble with addictive eating, people who are struggling with obesity and bulimia and binge eating and, just food addiction. And so for me, sugar was my addictive behavior. I mean, I was really a sugar addict. I didn't really struggle with it, binging on other foods, but I work with people who have, eat whole pizzas. I think pizza was given the prize for being the most addictive food. That wasn't my issue, but I know pizza is very addictive for people. I know people who've gone out in the middle of the night and, gotten a pizza and eaten the whole thing. And, it's chips, and other people I've worked with who just really eat way too much volume, way too much of their food at their meal times. And so food addiction can come out in a variety of different ways. For some people, it is, more of a bulimia. Eating disorders can be more emotional. And for some people, you can treat an eating disorder with emotionally based treatments. And for some people, an addictions model can be a solution. And so you might ask, well, how does that really work? You have to eat, you can't be abstinent. A lot of people ask that. I know for me, I get questions about that all the time. If I'm a food addict or a sugar addict, how am I supposed to get into recovery? Alcoholics can be off of alcohol, drug addicts can be off of drugs, but I can't be off of food. And of course, that's true. We do have to eat, but we really don't have to eat Oreos and ice cream. And the foods that we get addicted to are generally not foods that we need to live on. And so we also don't need to eat in ways that are druggy. Like, we don't need to drown our feelings with food. So for people who struggle with addictive eating, there is a solution. And we can learn to eat in a healthy way, using food for nourishment and enjoying food. It doesn't have to be that we go on a strict diet where nothing tastes good, and one of those cardboard diets where it's plain chicken and plain broccoli with nothing on it. I think people get scared of what would happen if they had to give up the things that they are hooked on. But there's a huge, vast variety of foods that a person can eat if they get into recovery. And I think what we need to understand is that recovery is physical, in that we have to look at what we're addicted to physically. It's emotional, what we're drowning, because usually we're using food to escape painful feelings. All addictions are about escaping painful feelings. And so it's very, very important not to try to just fix our bodies. And I think that's unfortunately what most people are doing, is we just want to get rid of our overweight or the negative consequences of our eating by trying to fix our bodies. And we don't really want to look at why we're eating. And we really need to be about looking at the whole picture. Why are we eating? Because if we don't get to the triggers, the emotional triggers, we will continue to use food as a drug. And so it's very important to understand the body and the mind and the emotions and the relational struggles, and then our spiritual life, because I think if we are really honest with ourselves, we are using food as a way of comforting ourselves, and we're turning to food for what we really need God for. We need His love, and we're turning to food for love. Food has been a faithful friend. A lot of us started using food when we were really young, and food was there to help us and to give us that sort of comfort when we needed it, and to give us a way of escape when we needed it. But it's turned on us. And now we hate ourselves and we hate our bodies. And some of us are struggling with all kinds of illnesses like heart disease and diabetes. And then we're full of shame. And it's a terrible problem if you're obsessed all day long thinking about food and you can't get those thoughts out of your head. And so many of the people that I work with and myself, when I was in it, it's just like your brain is being hijacked by obsessive thoughts and cravings all day. And it's a terrible life. It's no different than substance abuse for people who are in this bondage. And it's definitely like, it is like being away from God. It just takes us away from God. It's a block that keeps us from Him. And He is a jealous God, and He wants us to turn to Him. And He is a much better lover of our soul. So we need to look at this as a body, mind, and spirit problem with a body, mind, and spirit answer. And so if you have been struggling with overeating and you've tried everything, and I know many of us have tried everything. Some of us have been on every diet known to man, and we can't stick with the diets. And that's how you kind of know you have a problem. If you keep trying and it's not working, and everything you do just maybe works for a short while, but it doesn't stick. And you're on those roller coasters where you're like on and off, and you lose the weight, but then you gain it back, and you're just kind of stuck in a battle. And if you're a person who, is just tired of the battle and you know that you need help, then stay around and maybe we can learn something here about how you can break free through a recovery process that can transform your relationship with food, instead of just another Band-Aid diet program or a little help here or there, but really, really change your relationship with food and know that you can have peace and freedom in your relationship with food and your body. So I'm excited for you. I'm glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to continuing for us to talk about this topic together.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net. It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis. Someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. we're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back. Well, I hope you can begin to see how recovery really is essential when you have this obsession with food. Now, I want to tell you something. I think a lot of people are obsessed with food because they became so dependent on food because they didn't know there was a problem with food. I used to sit and eat these big old tins of potato chips. I didn't know that that's how you got overweight. I didn't realize that was a problem for me. So sometimes people aren't just dealing with some deep wound, they're just unknowing. And that's what's great about the material here. It gives you information on things that you just simply may have missed. And the thing about Dr. Epstein is she has experienced it, she studied it, and she knows how to apply it. And she helps us to apply it for the rest of our lives. So I want to continue to explore with her recovery from food addiction. Here's Dr. Epstein.
Well, hey, I'm back to talk with you a little bit more about food addiction. And I just want to say, if you struggle with overeating, that does not mean that you have a food addiction. If you can go on a healthy way of eating and learn to eat a piece of cake or some cookies in moderation, then by all means, you do not need to be looking at yourself as a food addict and do an addictions model. Although the 12 steps, I think, are great, no matter what your struggle is, but abstinence may not need to be your path if you can do moderation. The addictions model is for people who, no matter what happens every time, or most of the time, if they continue to ingest the foods that they are addicted to, usually the sugar and the refined carbohydrates, if they continue to do the behavior with food that's addictive, they will just stay trapped and they just can't learn moderation. It's the people who have been in and out of treatment and in and out of the diet programs, and they just aren't getting it together no matter what they do. And so if you're somebody who can do moderation, then you may benefit from a recovery program, but still learn to eat sensibly using maybe an intuitive eating model, or just working on not using food as a drug and learning to eat your nourishing foods and just being healthy with food. But if you can't eat certain things in moderation, then this is the path to consider. Because for a person who struggles with addictive eating, an abstinence model can be the difference between sanity and insanity. It's the cravings can go away when you stop feeding the lion, so to speak. It's sort of like a person who has an addiction. If you keep on feeding the lion will stay alive. But if you stop feeding the lion, then it shuts down, just goes to sleep. You don't have, it's not bothering you anymore. And so, that is sort of the idea with addiction treatment, is that you want to quiet the cravings. And so it's very different than going on a diet to lose weight. It's a lifestyle change. It's not aimed so much at weight loss, although weight loss would be a secondary benefit for those who need it. I think it's important to say that food addiction is not necessarily a weight thing. I work with people all sizes and shapes. And there are people who struggle with food obsession, who are normal weight, who manage their weight by exercising or starving in between their binges. And they still have a food obsession and insanity with food, and we can be all sizes. So I have 400-pound clients, and I have clients that are 125 pounds. And so it has nothing to do with weight. It has to do with our relationship with food and how much it's taking over our lives. Are our brains hijacked? Are we obsessing? Are we having cravings? Are we, just spending all of our time and energy trying to fight this battle, telling ourselves, no, we're not going to have it, and then having it anyway, and then being ashamed. And so recovery is a very different thing than weight management. And so the goal is very different. It's not really just about getting those pounds off. It's really a different focus, and the focus begins to be on wellness and on sanity and on quieting the cravings. And I know for myself, as somebody who was overweight, when I started to come into a recovery mindset, I realized that getting the insanity to stop was actually a goal that I could go for. It was something I wanted to lose weight. I hated being overweight, but I really wanted my mind back because I was thinking about food and my body and hating myself and wanting to stop all the craziness. I mean, all day long, I thought about food and dieting and starving, how I was going to eat and I wasn't going to eat. And the food thoughts that were going on all day, my worries about my weight, it was going on all day. I wasn't even like present for my life. And I wanted peace more than anything. And actually, that goal became more worth it actually than weight loss. And I know some of you really can understand it's a full-time job managing an addiction. And so when you start to realize like that, now that is something even a higher, better goal than getting the pounds off. It's worth fighting for. And so when you start to make that your goal, and you start realizing I need to not eat those food, not just because there's extra calories, but because I want my life back. I want peace and sanity, and I want to be there for my family. I've worked with people who they weren't present for their kids and they felt guilty because they were putting their kids in front of TVs because they were so fogged out from the binging that they couldn't even pay attention to their kids, and they were irritable and they didn't want to be there for their husband, or they were arguing with people because they just were so irritated all the time from the binging. And so we were fighting to get back to some sort of stability emotionally and mentally, and to be able to concentrate on the things that we're called to in our lives, that God has for us, a big, abundant, wonderful life that's being choked out by this food obsession and insanity. And so when we start looking at what we're going to do to recover, we have something to fight for. So if we start to create a recovery plan, we realize it's a transformation. It's not just, I'm going to go on a diet and I'm not going to eat that sweet because it's fattening. I'm not going to eat it because if I eat it, it's going to keep me in a crazy insanity that I'm not willing to live in anymore. When I was introduced to the idea that I need to abstain from sugar because it's life and death, and it is actually like a choice. If I choose to eat sugar, I believe I might as well be choosing death, because it will rob me of my life, because I cannot think straight and I cannot live right if I'm obsessing about food. And I can't really have a full life if that's in my life. And so I have to make every effort to put recovery first so that I have a life and I can be in it. And if that makes sense, it's a total game changer. And so it's a lifestyle choice. It's a recovery choice. It's more like heroin or alcohol addiction recovery. And so we start to have to look for, like, what do we need to do to have recovery so that we have everything in place to support us in being able to eat healthy and have ourselves mentally and spiritually in a position to not need food to drown our feelings. And that is really something that is not the small matter. Being in a position in our lives where we don't need food as a drug is really what it's all about. And that's why we need counseling and why we need recovery groups to learn how to live our lives in a more peaceful way, in a more sane way, so that we don't need a drug. And food is a very easily accessible drug. And so I will be talking more about how to do recovery. Many of you may already have recovery groups or are involved in different therapy groups, but it's important to understand that if you want to be free from food abuse and food addiction, you have to live your life in a way that supports not needing to drug yourself. And that is what recovery is all about. So I will be in the next shows telling you a little bit more about how to create a food recovery food plan, which can be tricky because so many of us have different needs and different ways that we are. We're not all the same. I don't believe in one size fits all. And so I will help you kind of look at that, how to do that, and on how to think about supports and all the pieces that need to be in place to help you if you struggle with this challenging problem.
Welcome back. Well, I think you've seen some great strategies, insights, and answers here. But many times we see it, we try it, and then we're struggling. So if after all of this you're continuing to experience some challenges with food, well, how about let us help you start the recovery process. We use a method that can involve the 12 steps, and we'll work you through it. There's a whole workbook just for 12-step work in the area of eating disorders. But also, Lose It for Life isn't really a 12-step program. The bottom line for all of these is doing some things you can do for the rest of your life. And rather than swooping down and changing everything that you do, change in small increments, little bitty things that you can maintain. Like for me, all I needed to exercise, but my first step was get up early enough so I could exercise. Now, I'm really excited that you were able to listen to somebody that's done the research, lived it, and has helped you apply it. And I'm really grateful that you tuned in today. We're going to see you next time, and we'll continue to look at these issues where life recovery can change everything. Life recovery can be the foundation of not just a whole new life, but a life that's rich and full of God's meaning, truth, and wisdom.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.